thinking.
Never, Your Majesty, was greater need for thought than now.
That's what I was thinking. Well, what is it? More trouble?
What we might call old trouble, Your Majesty.
Ah, it's what's like what I was saying last night to Her Majesty the Queen. Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown, is how I put it.
A profound and original thought which may well go down to posterity.
You mean it may go down well with posterity? I do hope so. Remind me to tell you another thing that I said to Her Majesty. Something about a fierce light beating upon the throne. Posterity would like that too. Well, what is it?
It is in the matter of Her Royal Highness's wedding.
Oh, yes.
As Your Majesty is aware, the young Princess Simon arrives today to seek Her Royal Highness's hand in marriage. He has been traveling in distant lands and, as I understand, has not...
You mean he hasn't heard anything?
It is a little difficult to put this tactfully, Your Majesty.
Do your best, and I will tell you afterwards how you got on.
Let me put it this way. The Princess Simon will naturally assume that Her Royal Highness has been customary. So customary as to be, in my own poor opinion, slightly monotonous, as what one might call the inevitable. So inevitable as to be, in my own opinion, again, almost mechanical. Will assume that she has the, as I think of it, faultily faultless, icily regular, splendidly...
What you're trying to say in the fewest words possible is that my daughter is not beautiful.
Her beauty is certainly elusive, Your Majesty.
It is. It has eluded you, it has eluded me, it has eluded everybody that has seen her. It even eluded the court painter. His last words were, "Well, I did my best." His successor is now painting the beautiful water meadows from the west turret. He says that his doctor has told him to keep to landscape.
It is unfortunate, Your Majesty, but there it is. One just cannot understand how it can have occurred.
You don't detect a likeness, you don't see a resemblance.
Most certainly not, Your Majesty.
Good. Your predecessor did.
I have often wondered what happened to my predecessor.
Well, now you know.
Putting the brighter side, although Her Royal Highness is not strictly speaking beautiful,
Truthfully speaking, beautiful.
yet she has great beauty of character.
My dear Chancellor, we are not considering her character, but her chances of getting married. You do observe that there is a distinction.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Look at it from the suitor's point of view. If a girl is beautiful, it is easy to assume that she has, somewhere locked inside her, an equally beautiful character. But it is impossible to assume that an unattractive girl, however elevated in character, has somewhere locked inside an equally beautiful face. That is not where you want it, locked away.
Quite so, Your Majesty.
This, of course, does not alter the fact that Princess Camilla is quite the nicest person in the kingdom.
She is indeed, Your Majesty. With the exception, I hardly need say, of Your Majesty. Oh, and Her Majesty.
Your exceptions are tolerated for their loyalty and condemned for their extreme fatuity.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
As an adjective for your king, the word nice is ill-chosen. As an adjective for Her Majesty, it is ill-chosen.
Talking about Camilla.
As always, my dear, you are correct.
This fellow, Simon, what's he like?
No one has heard anything, Your Majesty.
How old is he?
5 and 20, I understand.
In 25 years, he must have been seen by somebody.
Just a fleeting glimpse.
I meant to say, Your Majesty, that no detailed report of him has reached this country, save that he has the usual personal advantages and qualities expected of a prince, and has been traveling in distant and dangerous lands.
Ah! Nothing gone wrong with his eyes? Sunstroke or anything?
Not that I'm aware of, Your Majesty. At the same time, as I was venturing to say to His Majesty, Her Royal Highness's character and disposition are so outstandingly...
Stuff and nonsense. You remember what happened when we had the Tournament of Love last year?
I was not myself present. I had not then the honor. I was abroad and never heard the full story.
No, it was the other. They all rode up to Camilla to pay their homage. It was the first time they had seen her. The heralds blew their trumpets and announced that she would marry whichever prince was left master of the field when all but one had been unhorsed. The trumpets were blown again, they charged enthusiastically into the fight, and... Don't do that.
I'm sorry.
And what happened? They all simultaneously fell off of their horses and assumed a posture of defeat.
One of them wasn't quite as quick as the others. I was very quick. I proclaimed him the victor.
At the feast of betrothal held that night,
We were all very quick.
the chancellor announced that by the laws of the country, the successful suitor had to pass a further test. He had to give the correct answer to a riddle.
Such undoubtedly is the fact, Your Majesty.
There are times for announcing facts and times for looking at things in a broad-minded way. Please remember that, Chancellor.
Yes, Your Majesty.
I invented the riddle myself. Quite an easy one. What is it which has 4 legs and barks like a dog? The answer is a dog.
You see that?
Yes, Your Majesty.
It's quite easy.
He, however, seemed to find it was difficult. He said an eagle, then a serpent, a very high mountain with slippery sides, 2 peacocks, a moonlit night, the day after tomorrow. I did.
What I should have said was nobody could fail to recognize in his appearance an account of doggedness.
Finally, he said, death. I nudged the king.
Accepting the word nudge for the moment, I rubbed my ankle with one hand and clapped him on the shoulder with the other. I congratulated him on the correct answer. He disappeared beneath the table, and personally, I never saw him again.
His body is found in the moat next morning.
But what, Your Majesty, was he doing in the moat?
Oh, bawling about. Try not to ask needless questions.
It all seems so strange.
What does?
That of all the princesses one has ever heard of, Her Royal Highness should lack that inevitable attribute of royalty, supreme beauty.
That was your great aunt Malkin. She came to the christening. You know what she said.
It was cryptic. Great Aunt Malkin's besetting weakness. She came to my christening. She was 101 then, and that was 51 years ago. How old would that make her?
152, Your Majesty.
About that, yes. She promised me that when I grew up, I should have all the happiness which my wife deserved. Well, it struck me at the time, and when I say at the time, I was a week old. But it did strike me as anything could strike me. I mean of that nature. Work it out for yourself, Chancellor. It brings about an interesting field of constellation that I have not liked to go into all that deeply with Her Majesty.
I never heard anything less cryptic. She was wishing you extreme happiness.
I don't think she was wishing me anything.
But what, Your Majesty, did she wish Her Royal Highness?
Her other godmother, on my side, had promised her the dazzling beauty for which all the women in my family are famous.
Indeed, yes, Your Majesty.
And great aunt Malkin said, what were the words?
I give you with this kiss a wedding day surprise. Where ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise. I thought the last 2 lines rather neat, but what it meant.
We can all see what it meant. She was given beauty. And where is it? Great Aunt Malkin took it away from her. The wedding day surprise is that there will never be a wedding day.